Good evening, everyone. The time is 7:03 on Wednesday, November 26, 2025. I'd like to call this After Transportation and Traffic Safety Advisory Committee meeting to order. And as always, we do a land acknowledgement. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of Chippewas and Virginia Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized through Treaty 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Let it be. Okay, we are. May I have somebody approve the agenda? Thanks. And thanks. All those in favor? Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Receipt of the minutes from September 24th. May I please have a motion to receive the meeting minutes? You're waiting for me, guys. Okay. All those in favor? It carries. That carries. Oh, I have to say that carries. We have two delegations this evening. One is from Roy Bradshaw. Roy, you can come to the table if you like. And although we've spoken many times,
we have, haven't we?
I'm not sure that we've ever.
It's our first meeting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Okay. So this is about a disclosure. This is issue in Ward 3, Golf Links Drive. Roy, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Now, being a resident of Golf Links in Aurora for 34 years now, we've been through the whole ritual of what Golf Links means to Aurora. I'll deal with the first subject, which is the car vehicle, and I'll deal with the second, which will be commercial. We have 3,000 to 4,000 vehicles per day on Golf Links now. A majority of those are in the higher speed ranking. That means they're doing at least 50 to 70 kilometers, and that is over the humps.
The speed humps that were installed.
Yeah. We actually do call them in our district the fun bumps, because they do nothing whatsoever to slow the vehicles down. If you're, if you have a conscience, you will slow down, but otherwise these people just fly over them. So really, the speed bumps in our area, which is number 34 to 52, there is no speed bump from one to the other, and that's it's almost like you can say it's about 1/8 to 1/4 of the length of Golf Links. So we need something in there because this is the fastest piece of Golf Links there is, where speeds are really, and as we know, there always is a trauma before something happens. An accident or whatever, then we decide to do something. Well, maybe we can do something, which we've been trying to do. This is the second application of speed humps since I've been there. We have to, bite tongue and nail and tooth to basically get these first speed humps, completed. And unfortunately, I would give Aurora on this subject an F. Compared with other towns, driving around Aurora and driving around Ontario like I have done, I'll give Burlington right now a gold star. They are now putting in concrete speed humps with the Ballard, is that right? Ballard. I always think of, you know,
Maybe
I don't think it's the right name for them anyway. They're putting the one road which is Ferns, which goes from up to Dundas, at the sort of the west end. They have these concrete, and even into the residential areas where my son lives, they are now putting in concrete with the ballard in the middle, which I think really helps. In Sudbury, where my other son lives, he lives in a small circle. They've now got our recent trip to these Thanksgiving. They have just installed bollards, which you have to drive through to get into his little area, which is, not all that big. Down in Wellesley Street, they have these full across the road, with the ones we took out recently on the first application of the speed hump. We took those out to put these things in, which are just nicely fitting the width of the trucks that go down there, so they don't really have to slow down. And they are really now showing wear and tear on these speed humps that we just put in. They're starting to get worn down in that short period of time because of the amount of vehicles that are going down golf links. And as we know, speeding is a chronic situation wherever you go, and it's being addressed. And our beautiful Premier has just taken out a main asset to speeding, which I was hoping we'd get one on golf links. We could make a lot of money on golf links. A lot of money.
No, I have to interject, but it's not the money,
I know it's not.
as the Premier might have suggested, but we're talking about safety.
Yeah, well, that's the side of it. We're now having
So it's not the money.
families move in. We have a new family across the road, young kids, and we have one next door, young children. And as I say, it takes a tragedy before someone moves instead of considering other things. And really, golf links is really a bypass cutting through. And it's only barely 3 cars wide. Barely. And if you're picking up your mail and another car here, it really causes a traffic jam because they've got to wait for that's 2 cars and only 1 car to get through. So that says a lot there. And when you get speeding, once a car reaches a certain velocity, the engine is obviously polluting at a higher rate, and also the sound penetrates the homes. At 40, if every car did 40 down golf links, I wouldn't be sitting here. And that's the reason why they're not doing just 40. And just recently, a lot of speeds were brought down by 10 clicks on most of the roads around Aurora. Is that not correct? Yeah, they were brought down. A lot of them are now down by 10 clicks. And but the residential roads are left at 40. They should have been brought down and brought down to 30. For that reason, for safety reasons.
I have a feeling we could go on, but there is a time limit. Are you?
Well, I've got a few minutes. Yes, yeah.
Oh, you're beating the timer too?
No, I was looking for when it started.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
now we'll go on to the commercial side of it. We do have no truck signs, which are ignored. We have, what I witnessed is car carriers, cement trucks, pump trucks, crane carriers. One of the main, Cisco Foods. They have 10-wheelers. They come down sometimes in tandem, passing down golf links, ripping the branches off the trees. And the other situation we have is our dear friends Midas. And they use golf links as a test track for their vehicles. And you don't do 40 testing out brakes, etc. Why not use Young Street? Because that would be convenient. So that needs to be really looked at, really. They've never been approached to stop, and same with Cisco Foods. They've used this road continually, and sometimes coming down to them, I said it, in tandem, 2 14-wheelers. So we're at a lot here. And then we also have even the town vehicles go down at 50, at least. And school buses, 50. Recently, we just had RT buses. And now we have a new addition, fire trucks. Fire trucks which are returning home to their base because they're going from west to east. And that could be happening, and I'm not a good sleeper, but 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I thought when I first heard this, I was starting to collect garbage pretty early. Because a fire truck makes one hell of a noise.
And I think on those words, because we would agree with you about that your time is way to come.
Well, I've almost finished anyway.
Oh.
And the other, finishing off, I think it is a York region situation, if we can pass it on, is the situation of modified exhausts on vehicles. Because at 3 o'clock this morning, I was awake and vehicles are going down, both things. And these modified exhausts, I know Burlington were looking at this because it's a chronic situation. When you hear with the vehicles going down Young Street, these motorcyclists that are just cruising around, it's ear splitting.
Mm-hmm. So
that's something we can maybe look at for the future. Maybe they can get together and sort of think about something. Anyway, so my time is up, is it?
Sorry.
It is.
I think you've covered a lot, maybe everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I hope something can be materialized of this because, that's not the other side of it. What we're living with too is the construction in the golf links area. That is also chronic. We're almost living in part of Gaza, really. When we look out our back windows, if I just bought a house for $1 million, and today, they were just going crazy. They chipping. Anyway.
No, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna ask for a mover and seconder to receive your comments. Thanks, Steve. Oh, sorry. Thanks. Are there any questions for the delegate from the committee?
I have. So I grew up on golf lanes, just sort of to give you. So we moved there in 1984. And one of the reasons why we moved off golf lanes as a family was because of the traffic. Once they connected it into Bathurst, it became a throughfut.
What date was that? Just
when did we move off?
Yeah.
It would have been 92, 84 to 92 maybe.
30-some years.
Yeah. But it's continually, as the world has grown, it's continually being a throughput. Yeah, and I do agree the speed bumps. I drive a truck. I drive a pickup truck, and I can straddle the speed bumps. They don't, the speed bumps aren't effective. And there is, so when we lived there were multiple accidents on the bend in Golf Links for people who were going too quickly. And they end up on the front lawn.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I can speak from my own experience there, and so I agree that is a problem area because people use that as a throughput. The speed bumps, I don't think obviously are not effective, but there are other effective measures that the town could look at to put in place. Like you do inside the school zones, like you do in different areas where you have the delineator posts. The delineator posts are the most effective speed calming device that you can put out temporarily because what it does, people don't want to scratch their cars, so they slow down to go through them. They have them inside Devon Drive School. The only thing is they're seasonal. You can't have them in the winter because of the snow.
Yeah.
So, but I think for Michael and for the town, I would say you need to go away and look at a different product that would actually slow traffic down or put in limitations or timing on road restrictions on that road so that people can't drive through there late at night, that you're limiting the amount of traffic. It's the access through, so I live just off Kennedy now, so I'm on the northern part, up towards Bathurst. So I'm in that area, and Kennedy on the north side is the same problem. Except those speed bumps seem to be higher than they are on golf links. So the speed bumps on golf links don't have that, and they don't have the width. Yeah. So I think from my perspective, to the town, I would say it needs to, that area actually does need to be looked at. I do agree with you. So it's not a question, it's a comment.
There's one other little humorous thing, if I may. When we first moved there, we had 3 boys, young boys at that time, 30 years ago. And even then people would come up and say, my God, the traffic on this road, that was 30 years ago. Really. And so I phoned very early on, and I said to the whoever's heading up, he sounded like a Polish name at that time, heading up the traffic. And I said to him, blah, 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 traffic and blah, blah, blah. Well, he said to me, you should have known better to move onto a street with traffic lights at the end. Oh, well, thank you very much.
Haven't we heard that before?
When those homes were built, there wasn't, the town didn't have the traffic.
No.
And it used to, I mean, it didn't go up Trillium originally, and then that development went, right? So, but it is just.
Sorry to interrupt, but if I could just make one comment.
You may.
Actually happened to me. My name's Brenda Cairns. I'm at 50. I was on the opposite side of the street to which I live, and I was just waiting for a car to go by, and the car slowed down to let me go by. Well, good thing I was looking because some guy passed her and just about hit me. Okay, so I think I'm not a kid. I'm not a 5-year-old. There are lots of kids out there, and I think, as we already mentioned, I think we're to worry about the eventual. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to get hit or killed. I think we need to address something because it did happen to me.
Yes, I'm
Well,
sorry.
the squirrel population certainly know about it.
They're very smart.
Are there, sorry, I saw Steve's hand.
Through the chair to the delegate, what's the parking situation on the street or with the town?
It's just one side.
One side, can't park on the other side?
Well, they do.
They do.
Even though there's no parking signs, they still park.
Where I'm going with that is also with Owen's talk, and I don't know if David could maybe speak on this better in terms of road design. The physical space, if parking on both sides of the street, you're physically narrowing the space. I'm not a massive advocate for street parking, but that sometimes is helpful.
I think, Michael, have staff, through the chair, conducted any recent traffic counts or speed reviews of golf links?
So again, I think about the history of sort of the traffic calming measures on golf links. So this was well before I joined the town. I joined the town 2 years ago. That came up around in 2006. The initial speed humps, the continuous ones, were put in at 5 locations along golf links, based on a request. And it sounds like Roy may have been the resident who came forth with the request. which is from what you mentioned earlier. So those have been put in based on a review, following the policy. So speed must have been high back then. And following that, I believe you came forth again in around 2018 with similar concerns regarding speed. The town reviewed the speeds along golf links one more time. It's my request. At that time, June 19, 2018, we're here for general committee. At that time, we did a round speed counts and to review whether speeds are high. And based on that study, speeds were 8 kilometers over posted speed limit, which is within the range of what we aim for. We install traffic calming measures. So it showed that the existing traffic humps were effective in reducing speeds. And following that, we did another round of follow-up speed studies in 2022 at various locations between the speed humps. And those speeds were very similar to the 2018 studies, where it was in order of 8 kilometers above the speed limit. So, which showed that lower speeds were being maintained as a result of the speed humps. And we also did a additional location near Tim Hortons, where the curvature is, and that area was that location was every 7 kilometers of speed limit, which is what's considered speeds in terms of policy. There's a long history of reviews there.
So just to confirm the policy then, to trigger the 3-step process is 15 kilometers?
Yes.
Right. So the goal is when you implement traffic calming measures and you evaluate them, you want to obviously have cars going the posted speed limit, but there is that threshold of 8 kilometers that's within that threshold.
Yeah, because the 85th percentile speeds has to be 15 kilometers over the posted speed limit for traffic calming measures to be warranted.
And the solution that was implemented, why were there gaps? Were there no certain speed humps? Were there reasons for that? Is it because there's the curvature of the road or something else driving that?
That's a good question. So the locations of 5 speed humps were locations were chosen. We typically try to space them in 80 to 160 meter spacing to effectively reduce space to our target range. Speed limit to over 8 approximately. And they're generally achieve those spacings with the exception of one area where we were not able to add more speed humps due to driveway spacing, because speed humps themselves are approximately 5 meters wide and you can require 1 meter on either side, so that driveways are not obstructed. So that one area is approximately 200 or plus meters spacing, but based on the speed study, the median of those two speed ups, speeds were being controlled to 8 plus 8 compared to speed limit. So
Can I make a comment?
One sec. I'm sorry, you had your hand up this way.
So again, this is to Michael. I know that Highland Gate, there's a proposed condo to go in there, and I don't know if they're going, there's gonna be a traffic study, typically that's 5 years. There will be a traffic study, so I will speak because again, David and myself are in the engineering field, you are in a collector road, and I hate to say it, collector roads are designed to collect the traffic, and the only solution when I look at golf links is to basically dead end the road at some point, and whether the condo comes up, but again, that pushes the traffic onto Murray and it pushes it on to Kennedy. Right, there's other things that particularly could happen, but I think
it'd be interesting to read, and again, I don't know if there's, again, you don't get the traffic. You don't get the traffic study until the condo submits their site plan application to see. Now, may be an opportunity based on that traffic study to implement other solutions as it relates to golf links, but realistically, as it relates to it's a collector road. You're going to get the construction. I hate to say it, and I mentioned it when the development came in, how to control for mud tracking and dust control. Truck drivers, I'm going to say this because you can't stop them, right? The cement guys that are coming in, unless you put, and I know fire hates it, we put barriers down that basically the trucks can, because they're going to hit that barrier. All right, this is the only way you stop no heavy trucks from taking a road. You typically put that in a construction site when you've assumed a certain section, you want to keep people out, but it's typically not something you want to implement from a fire. Because again, you just increase the travel time. They need to come to your house, put out a fire, right? And again, a cul-de-sac is something that is a solution, but again, that's something that has to, when you're looking at evaluate, it is a collector road, unfortunately. I think maybe something we can look at within these segments where the speed cushion is not viable, as maybe putting the markers in between there, as an interim, so at least during the summer. Can we stop cars late at night with mufflers? Sorry, I came from downtown Toronto on a major collector road. I lived with it, ultimately these are kids, putting on the special mufflers to make noise, can we outlaw that? Yeah, I guess it could be a provincial legislature to outlaw it. And then, but I struggle with what else we can do with that road, except ending it, and basically where you basically to enter, you're coming off of Murray, where their condo goes, we force them to build a dead end. I just as solutions are throwing outside, I'm giving you ideas as to, but again, I think you need to do an overall traffic study, really, of the entire block. It's not where you can just say, okay, when I look at traffic calming, the way we typically do it, what you do in one area will affect another area. You have to do a comprehensive block review, truly, because you're just pushing the problem to somebody else. And then we're going to hear complaints on Murray, or we're going to hear complaints. There are speed cushions right now on Kennedy. Ideally you'd want to see what are the cars going. We could do a license and then peg, okay, these residents that are living in here, are these passing through? There was always those things of finding out who's actually using, are these residents? Because if they're residents, then, they're using a road, to come into the subdivision. That's my comment. I think as it relates to the site plan, I think it's going to be important. They need to demonstrate, or look at some options there, have them, because again, the traffic studies, they're going to generate more traffic with that development. That's all at the end of the day.
The conversation that we're having at the table is wonderful, but we're in the part now. Are there any more questions for the delegate?
Oh, sorry.
And I don't think there are, so we could, and I will allow you to make a comment.
Al Potter, Heskey, my neighbor across the street. And I just wanted to comment on Roy's observation about the number of speed bumps on our street, on Golf Link, and comparing them. And I understand what you were saying. So I questioned the speed bumps when they originally were put in, and there was an explanation. You had one here, you had one there because of certain situations. You go down Kennedy from Murray, not to Bathurst, but it isn't all the way through. They have speed bumps. I would say probably about every 30 yards. I'm guessing there, but that's considerably more, maybe twice as many as what we have.
They all.
And they're white.
Well,
So I'm not sure how that.
they also didn't put one close to Bathurst, which would have been sorry, you weren't here. An ideal place to slow down the traffic coming off Bathurst. So every area is, it's just,
Wait a minute, slow down the traffic, that's what we're trying to do here.
no, but, there are a lot of speed bumps on humps. Okay. But we didn't put one near Bathurst, which would have been.
I'm not questioning it, I just.
No, I know, but each area is so complicated in itself. But, and I'm assuming that the decision is based on the analysis. But, Roy, thank you for bringing it to the committee.
I mean, with our strip, like the numbers I mentioned, we don't have any, that's faster strip.
Yes, I was looking at that, and there's parking actually on both sides of the street, whether it's allowed.
No, only one lot size.
No, but I'm looking at Google Maps and,
Okay, yeah.
so I will ask you to leave the table. Thank you.
You for having me? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
There may be some more discussion if you want to stay, or you may have enough.
These are on.
These are Uber.
Oh, I see, okay, go for it.
I just have one question.
Mr. Bennett, we'll let you know if you come up with it.
You're my counselor.
Yes, I know.
Training whistle. Is there anything that is ever going to be done about this? You can't leave your windows open because of these.
Well, I'll tell you, Phyllis Moore had it solved.
What was that?
She had it all figured out, the region.
Is that between suing everybody else?
How many lights?
That's fair,
That's
he
pretty
did
great.
it.
I should have been last on Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
really.
so I thought you can't give me any more.
Well, we're. Is the crazy parts?
First time ever. Okay, you know, you're my earbuds. I always hear the speed bumps. First time ever. I'm looking up and trees right. Well, it's hard when it goes. I've never seen that before. I was thinking, yeah, I was thinking something changed because I have never. I was shocked. It's been a while since we.
Even if it's midway through
Getting it in nature rails.
Yeah.
So see.
Yeah, part of the thing.
You know, you build the fridge, I'm like, so, and it's hard after. It's DCable items. And you have to plan for it, and plan for it, but when the development go in, people, you get the complaints right away.
Anyway,
In Vaughn, and I just said, I know this thing is right.
Nice to meet you.
It's gonna be, I don't know, what are the Europeans?
Are you a secondary?
They're on 100. And you lose it.
This
It's
is
on
when
level
we lose
crossings.
city meeting, my apologies.
No, that's over crossings.
Yes.
You don't need whistles. I do have a question.
You do, go ahead.
To go, and out of curiosity, you know, the solution is a common solution. A common solution. But yes, does the
I
policy?
think you need to keep this under new business, if you wouldn't mind, so that we can hear this delegate.
My apologies.
Thank you. Sir, Jay. Oh, sorry, we need a vote. That would be a vote to, receive the comments of the delegate.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to move it, no, we gotta move it in a second. This lady runs a tight ship and I am breaking. I'm sorry, Rita. Okay, so we have our second delegate this evening. Resident Michael Annarilli, close enough? Thank you, and you're talking again, another traffic calming on Limeridge and Gateway Drive. So you have the floor, sir, you have funds.
And they're sharing. Perfect.
I'm gonna start. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm here today not because I want to be here, it's because I have to be here. And reason being, the speeding issue in my area. It's first noticed when I moved to the neighborhood around 2 years ago for the town's requirement. I garnered a petition and had it signed by area residents. Just to note that every house that I knocked on, it was met with overwhelming support in this petition, as well as giving you stories about their times there, 15, 20, even sometimes longer than that, living in the area itself with the speeding issues. The posted speed is 40 kilometers per hour. And the limit is posted on Gateway Drive, and it's not being followed. The speed data clearly proves this, which I will get to in a second. The traffic monitoring results show that speeding is not an occasional problem. It is normal behavior of most drivers. First, the study shows that 53.9% of all vehicles, almost 9,000 cars, were traveling over 40 kilometers an hour. When more than half of those drivers exceed the limit, it indicates a systemic issue, not a few isolated incidents, regardless of the 85th percentile not being met, and which is being imposed by the town. Second, the 85th percentile speed, the overreaching criteria used to judge what drivers feel comfortable doing, is 48 kilometers per hour. If drivers feel safe traveling close to 50 kilometers an hour, that tells us that the road encourages and it does not naturally support the posted speed. Third point, data shows the fastest 5% of drivers are going over 53 kilometers an hour. In some cases, traveling over 75 kilometers an hour, which I'll show you in a second. This is not just speeding, it's dangerous in a residential environment with children, especially my children. Pedestrians and cyclists use the street every day. And lastly, nearly 56% of drivers are clustered at the height of the 44 kilometer an hour cutoff, right or above the posted speed. This confirms that the natural speed of the road design is higher than what is posted, meaning enforcement alone won't solve the problem. This data paints a clear picture. The majority of drivers are not respecting the 40 kilometer an hour limit, and the current road conditions do not support safe speeds. So I'll just walk you quickly through just this first slide and a couple others. So you can see highlighted here, 298 vehicles over the limit, roughly 23.6% over the speed limit for this day. Next slide, please. So this day is September 19th, 2025, 342 vehicles. Sorry.
Yeah, it's up there, it's like 340. Yeah, 25%.
342, 25%. So next slide, please. It should be the 20th. Yeah. So 292 vehicles. This isn't a small amount of vehicles. 292 vehicles over the speed limit. That represents 25% of drivers in that area to that day speeding over the speed limit. And again, 237. Next slide, please. 325 vehicles over the posted speed limit. Next slide, please. 293. Next slide, please. 22%. And I saved the best for last. So if I keep going, please see the red light. They stop here. Go back. Okay. This is important. So this is the weekend. Okay, this when pedestrians, children are going to be in the streetscape majority of the time in the summer months. 366 vehicles over the limit, regardless of the 85th percentile that the town's criteria has to be met. I don't believe that should be a cookie cutter, because this is what I'm trying to demonstrate to you guys. It's not about the 85th percentile. It's about, look at this data here, 34.9, basically 35% of people that day driving over the speed limit. And if you really focus on the data, and I have it here, and you can get a copy of this afterwards. I have here 1800 hours, so I believe that's 6 o'clock. That's when everyone's going to be going out or after their dinners and going to the park. I have a driver traveling at between 75 and 79 kilometers an hour. And when I see those people, I put my hands up in the air trying to wave them down. Say, slow down, there's kids here. And I met with rude remarks and gestures from that vehicle. I won't go into detail about it. That's the reality of it, okay? That street has no traffic calming measures on it whatsoever. And that's why we're today, see if we can change that regardless of the town's criteria. One more slide, please, Linda. Okay, so this is the Sunday. So this is especially more important. 291 vehicles over the limit. 40% of drivers that day are going over the speed limit. That's between 45 and 79 kilometers an hour. Stretch. Okay, and I had to do a petition in order for the town to come out here and even look at that. They didn't even take my word for it, which is fine. This stuff, but this is just adds to my frustration, and the residents' frustration as well. Then they go all the way, if you don't mind, I know I'm over time, I'm just gonna wrap up.
Okay.
Go to the last slide of that slide deck. Thank you. Okay, so we'll leave it up here for now, and if you could zoom in, that would be much appreciated. You can, it's fine. In closing, I want to emphasize one point. When half the vehicles on a residential street exceed the posted speed limit, that is not a driver problem, it is a road design problem. The speed study shows 40 kilometer an hour limit is effectively ignored by the majority of drivers. And that drivers feel comfortable traveling much faster. That puts families, children, seniors, and pedestrians at a necessary risk every single day. We are not asking for anything unreasonable. We are asking for speeding mitigation measures that align driver behavior with the law. I'm requesting either speed cushions as seen on Pedersen Drive or connecting street. So I have it labeled here. Pedersen Drive has speed cushions, and in my opinion, in contradiction to the other gentleman that was here, I believe speed cushions do work. Okay, flexible bollards as seen fronting the school on Bridge North Drive, and you can see there at the bottom right, off of Earl Stewart Drive, it's Bridge North Drive. They have the flexible bollards. That's fine. And it is a temporary solution because, like you said, they are down in the weather, but at least it's something physical there. Boulevard slow down signs, that's there effort that I think you guys can implement, or the town can implement. On road slow down or max 40 pavement markings, again, very low cost, or edge lines to narrow the roadway. We're talking a couple $100. Okay, and then make a huge solution, huge benefit. Okay. Protect residents and prevent a serious accident before it happens, not after. We must be proactive in situations as this when being presented with this data. That is clear, a solution is overdue. We urgently need support to make our streets safe again, and such a thank you to John for your here as well. Pass these around, 3 years older. I don't know if I have enough, but we're supposed to ask questions and get.
Yeah.
I don't need that, but I got all your. Thanks.
Tonight,
All speed reports.
on the secondary,
Even though the speed reports are long.
I have a Bluebird and secondary to leave comments in the delegate. Thank you, and to take your pick. Questions to the delegate? You know,
So I need to understand the last map there, because again, it points to some of my concerns with the way the town approaches traffic calming. If you're telling me there's speed cushions on one, because I see a roundabout, so that's the traffic calming matter. But if I only see speed cushions on one of the approaches, I have issues with that, because what you're doing is what I just said, you push the problem onto the other streets. If you're going to implement, it's a comprehensive review. You do it on all their approaches, because what people will do is take alternative routes. And I'm sorry, I've said this over and over again at the town, and I totally support you on this, right? So if I have 2 counselors here, I just think we need to review, I've said this, we need to review the policy. And I think when it comes to traffic calming, you need to look at all the feeder roads. You can't look at it in isolation. And I know sometimes you guys say, oh, these are just these people. You need to look at a comprehensive, because what if you do on one street, you push it on to another. There are different ways to coming into a law.
Gina, do you have anything?
So that's the only question I wanted to just confirm, that there's
That was also a question to us, not the delegate. Any questions for the delegate?
no, that was my question. to
Yeah,
confirm.
that's
There's nothing-
there's nothing between that stretch, but on adjacent side streets, there is traffic calming measures, so it's unbalanced.
Thank you. So that's just confirming for me. Thank you.
Yes.
Mostly comments from me. I live in the neighborhood just south of Gateway. and I drive and cycle on Gateway frequently, multiple times a week. I think the issue, and just extending what Gino was talking about, is that in that whole neighborhood, like Wellington Lanes to the south and
Steve, I'm getting a dirty look here. So, this is questions to the delegate. I really, would like to hear your thoughts, but we'll do it under once the delegate is off the table.
Can I just finish what he's saying, just out of respect, because the last group got a lot of conversation now, can you just finish his thought?
Would you like to finish your thought?
well,
I'm
my
curious the way you were gonna
My
say
only
it.
thought was that all the surrounding streets are very narrow with parking on the street. And you're forced to drive at 40 kilometers or less. You get out onto Gateway and all of a sudden you're now on this much wider street with no parking and a painted bike lane on either side doesn't really
Do anything?
narrow the space at all.
Yeah.
So I'm agreeing with Michael that problem here might be road design, street design.
Thank you.
So that's my call.
Thank you, and I'd like to discuss that further. Any other questions to the delegate? Thank you, that was a very good presentation. I appreciate your coming.
Right.
Report, Mr. Gallo.
There was also a traffic study on Limeridge, but you're
No,
not.
so I think you requested Limeridge, I don't know why that was.
Well, there was someone else.
That was a different resident.
So were they aware of this meeting or?
The only way I called into this, to be honest with you, was just in passing talking with Michael, it was really brought up to my attention.
Were they aware of
We
this?
give them the heads up, same way that I did Michael, that we have a meeting coming up and if they'd like to participate or watch YouTube.
I would have liked more notice, but that's.
I would have too, because I would have let them know, because they're very active and they're very concerned about their.
Steve,
I do have a question, Mike, could you, through your chair to the delegate, do you live on Gateway, Mike?
And the buffer.
You, one of the side streets?
Yes.
Which one?
Skipped.
Skipped it,
thank you. Yes, thank you so much. If you'd like to stay at the table for the discussion, that's fine. So what about the concern that's been raised? If we're going to be looking at the whole area, it would be good to have, as Councillor Gallo said, the other person who's also got in touch with you.
I'll make sure to notify them ahead of time, multiple times, so that you can join perhaps our upcoming committee of the whole, where this we discussed as well.
At this point, yeah, honestly, I didn't know unless Michael had reached out to me, I wouldn't even have known this was on the agenda.
So that we have another meeting, we have one in January. Would we want to revisit the area in January?
Yeah, if we're gonna connect the two, because they're in the same geographic area, maybe it's
Right.
beneficial, because if there's
So
gonna be,
not bring it to council.
if there's gonna be infrastructure costs going in, you're gonna wanna do it together as opposed to do it, it's just cost to coordinate it separate.
They'd be very upset if they knew this was happening.
Yeah,
and they
so
didn't
give them
have
the
to
opportunity to
voice
speak.
this.
Yeah, I
versus
think
just
we need to do a do-over and make sure that the area residents, sorry, I know you're gonna love this, but I mean, really, in fairness, make sure that the area residents know about this, because Gino said it just can't be a one, we need a comprehensive solution, and we've,
Yes.
I mean, when Al Wilson was on council, we were doing a traffic calming closer to Wellington for this, and I don't know if that ever helped, so.
I think we can still discuss this one in the meantime.
Yes, of course, of course.
Madam Chair, it's Lil here. Yeah, hi, sorry. I had my hand up. I just
Oh, I'm
wanted
so
to
sorry.
respond. Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to respond to what Gino was saying. I'm not trying to discount what he's saying, but I don't know that it's actually a big issue in this case. I do think that traffic calming would help because it's not likely to bleed onto another street because the only other street, for example, McMaster has bumps already. So I think the problem is that Gateway is, the problem is bleeding off of the fact that McMaster has the bumps, and so people are diverting onto Gateway, and now Gateway has the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm sorry, I didn't know you were with us. Do you have any questions for the delegate himself? Because we're gonna go now into the committee discussion, which, and your comments would be perfect there.
Implementing solutions on gateway.
I do have a question because sometimes there have been surveys or petitions and people don't want something like bumps. So I'm not sure if the delegate has actually done any sort of a survey or collected feedback from the local residents.
Thank you, it's a very good question, Michael.
First, who is the
Lily's on the committee.
She's not down a resident or is she?
Resident and on the committee.
So the resident.
Citizens,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so to answer that question, when I was going door to door, it was in my purview to ask what type of traffic calming measure you would be.
Okay.
First edition that's saying, please sign this form. I'm a stranger at your house. Please sign this form. This is the reason. And that's when I was met with overwhelming support. Of course, I'll sign. There has to be something done. What that something is up for debate. And I put it down as a policy that speaks to their outreach and having meetings with. Once it's determined that yes, traffic calming measures are needed here, I believe that that's town's responsibility to go back and see first what those implementations are, and then do candidates and see what the appetite is for what. My personal view is speed cushioning work. I would like something physical. The radar that's put up on the poles, that does not work. Half the time it's not working.
We don't have that.
Well, I drove by with today.
Yeah, he's talking about the speed devices that in
What you are, sorry. So Michael, the process usually is for petition. There's usually a definite question, like, would you want speed humps, would you want traffic calming? What is the protocol?
The petition is going to like as I said, they don't specify what type of traffic calm measure.
Just would you?
Would like to, and he's.
And that's exactly.
So
Thank you. John, what is happening with the other residents you were speaking? Have they also done a
They
petition?
did, as far as I know, they've submitted, they're at the same level.
There's a speed mission on that road.
Yeah.
To be so circuitous.
Well,
Why would you go down that road and
I think they're two separate issues, they might be. The numbers might be very, very different, I haven't seen those numbers, I suspect they are, but they should have their say.
Yeah, no, that's we should have the same.
Does that actually answer Lily's question and hear back from Lily? That's answer.
Julie, I think that answers your question.
Can I ask a question?
So I think we've already received the delegate.
Yep.
My apology, I didn't see Lily up there. So now we can open this. We haven't voted, so all those in favor of receiving the comments from. Thank you. So now we can open the floor up to anything we want to address to.
Wait, so
You might need a mover and a seconder to put the item on the floor. And again, take it because everybody wants to join. Okay, so let's just go around the table.
yeah, so you're based on the study itself, if you look at the percentages in the study, it did not meet the threshold.
No, again, this kind of, so the Gateway Drive location between Peterson and Earlston, where we did the study. Speed study over 7 days was 8 kilometers above coastal speed limit. This is 80 percentile speeds. So it did not require its warranty traffic calm or necessary. It just, I can just speak on the higher speeds that we're seeing. Unfortunately, every speed study that we do for every request, there's a speed profile, and 1 or 2% of the vehicles that are observed in the 7-day study do reach those higher speeds. And whether they're teenagers or immature people.
Yeah.
You know, they're there, unfortunately, but you know, I respond to that. Policy looks at the 85th percentile species thresholds that is the most, that's what the.
Yes, Michael, I think you, from a study standpoint, it's gonna tell you that, but from so my kids used to go to Limeridge, I used to live there. From that stretch, because of the design of the road, which Gino was touching on, the design of the road and the width gives people a comfort level to travel at a higher rate of speed. Right, so you don't have that on the feeder streets, you don't have that on Peterson, you do the speed bumps, those are aggressive speed bumps on Peterson. They're not like golf links, like we have on the previous. They were a lot more severe. It's that stretch to the roundabout that's the issue. It's people gunning to try and make the corner at the roundabout like they're in the F1 hit the pit lane. So you almost are inviting people to try and see what they could get before they get that, in a sense. So putting some measure in place is probably because you're beside two schools. And all the kids walk to school there. And then you have your bike lanes in the road with nothing delineating the bike lane from the road. And they all use the bike lane. So I think at some point you are gonna have a problem there. So just because the study doesn't say that it matches the criteria, I think in this instance, just because of the design of the road, you actually need to look at it and do a further study into what could be done.
Yeah, can I respond to Michael's point?
You really can't, but I will let you.
Yeah, so I can't participate anymore.
No, I'm gonna let you go, because that was a free fall.
Okay, sorry. This last thing, so respectfully, Michael, I have to disagree with you. I don't know if you have kids, but I know you're saying, I don't care what other streets are. I don't care what's happening at Longer Way. I don't care what's happening by backyards and what my backyard is issue. Okay? There's someone driving 74 kilometers an hour at 6 o'clock. If that's 0.1%, that could be someone's life, it could be a child, right? If you're driving 40 kilometers an hour, that's time to stop. At 70, you don't. Okay, so don't give me that. It's a kid, it's 0.1%. That 0.1% is life or death when it comes to 74 kilometers an hour in a 40 zone. Okay? So just stop. That doesn't make any sense to me. Let's all use common sense. Thank you for using your common sense. Thank you, Gene, for using your common sense with your comments. But that doesn't make any sense to me. All right.
I think just in defense of Michael, he feels I think it's just merely, you know, demonstrating data and the policy. It happens. I don't think he's suggesting that it's okay that that's happening.
But I have it that he's trying to.
No, I don't.
He's trying to suggest that it's happening elsewhere. It's whatever. He's trying to make it seem like it happens. I don't care if it happens elsewhere. I don't.
Yeah,
But it's 0.1%. That doesn't.
but when we have to make decisions, we take everything into account.
Sure, of course. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't something serious. I got better.
Nobody's
Things better.
Nobody's disagreeing. And they appreciate.
And like I said in my opening remarks, I don't want to be here. I have to be here. Okay.
Yes, it's worrisome.
Absolutely.
We're just gonna go right around the table.
Yeah.
Go for
So
it.
Michael, a few questions.
Thank you guys. Sorry. Thank
Want to listen in?
Thank you. No, it's okay.
I can't participate. Okay, thank you guys for coming.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
that- But you're welcome to listen to. Well, let's speak on this.
Is this recorded?
Yes.
Just I'll watch it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice meeting.
Thanks,
Michael. Thanks, Cheetah. Take care.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So I actually I agree with Owen's comments. You know, I've done traffic calming policies and well, in many municipalities, and yes, there are, you know, 3 or 4 steps that are set up for a safety consideration, and also having, you know, a significant consensus among residents that they want to change. Those are pretty determining factors for staff that may mean that the last part, which is the one that you're talking about, at the end of the day, may not be the determining factor that staff consider on whether or not there should be action or not. And there are things that can be implemented on this road that are pretty cost effective. So, you know, everything from, Owen talked about it earlier, Devon's, you know, the example where you have seasonal flex bullets at very low cost. They are very effective. I live and drive by that school,
Really?
and I don't have a huge car, and it's, I'm amazed how it's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's more effective
Not
than a sign, safety zone, the threat of a ticket, the threat of something hitting my car.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing with the whole philosophy of narrowing
motor vehicle lanes, right?
friction between cars going both ways, you slow down because you just do, it's a safety thing. So that's one consideration, it's very effective. And it could be something to put out and then do a follow-up survey in a couple of years. And see what, if it's had any impact and see what residents think. So that's one option. The other thing is, I'm curious, this is a collector road with a bike lane on it, and it's a pretty wide road. Had you thought about maybe when you rehab that bike lane, put some precast curbs in and narrow the travel lanes and put up like these flex bollards at the key intersection points, not the whole thing, because residents hate flex bollards. But that's a pretty inexpensive solution. You're not reconstructing the road. And many municipalities are now doing that as part of a traffic measure where they have slightly infrastructure. Bill's doing it, Arlington's doing it, Vaughan is now doing it, and it's super effective. Because basically you're just squeezing the road a little bit. And it's not a permanent solution either. Yeah, because the design of that road is the problem. So it's
routine, we call it routine accommodation. So if it's a road rehabilitation project or reconstruction, you take the economies of scale to implement some of the things that, to reduce speed. In theory, we all know this. And then when you do white lines, it's been proven when you put white lines, we lower it to at least 5 kilometers. If you didn't have it where there were no lines, then the wider the road, the faster the speed, people. I'm going to tell you, that's the bottom line now. In design now, resident, you want to tighten it up. So your collector roads, you were originally taught, they're collecting traffic, you need to make them nice and wide. I hate to say it, we've created the problem, right?
So one more solution, let me finish. So if the decision about the precast groups is one that staff are not enamored with, but you're open to testing the flex bollard idea. The other consideration, which also municipalities are doing, is they're adding a double line, so they're making the bike lane a little bit wider by narrowing the traffic lines. It's just means.
Yeah.
Right, reinforces the bike facility. You add in the flex bollards at a few key points, and that will have a really important effect, especially Owen was talking about people are approaching that road, but there's no question that's what's happening. Like I know that, I see that myself on that road. So that would have a really big impact on it, and it's pretty cost effective. So I just thought something for staff to consider if a decision is made to try to respond to area residents. When I see a petition that comes in with so many people who really are very concerned about it, and we're trying, this is the corridor that kids are used to get to and from that park at the end of the street.
And the school.
And the school. Yeah. Anyway, those are my comments.
Thank you, those are great comments. Steve?
I did have I was looking at the satellite shots, is the concern from Earl Stewart to Pedersen, or is it from Pedersen all the way to?
I think it's both, but he highlighted the lower section as a big issue.
As a regular user, I don't mean to any disrespect to the delegate to Michael, but having again driven and cycled along that stretch almost multiple times a week, that's not so much the issue. It's the northern section of Gateway all the way to, because you're coming in off an arterial.
You're coming off St. John's.
Yeah, you're coming off St. John's.
That's why I was saying the whole stretch. You can't just do this.
Yeah, you're getting to St. John's.
You have to do the whole stretch.
So you have to do the whole thing. A couple other observations about this this whole neighborhood. It's all the streets are very narrow. They're parking on at least on one side, and they're all dense with trees on the boulevard. Then all of a sudden you get out onto to Gateway, and there's no trees. There's no trees on the boulevard, or they're very
Really?
I mean, just even it's very open. It's just you feel to Gino's point, you feel like I'm on this much bigger road. I'm okay.
You got it.
There are trees.
There are trees, but they're not. It's not as dense.
The road is not as tight, so you're not seeing the trees when you're racing up there on your bike. That's the problem.
So I'm usually finishing up a long ride now. Just want to get home. So I again another thing, and again I don't know whose responsibility this is. A few more trees on the boulevard. It's a narrow boulevard, but again I don't know who's responsible for that. But put a few more trees along there.
So
Well, that's I think that's an easy sell. We can speak to our.
But,
whoever got
Uh,
our-
so-
Lily, Lily
ahead,
is also
Wendy.
wants
got
to
your
add
hand.
some
Yeah,
comments.
sorry. But you know, I don't think that that's an immediate solution to the speeding issue. But if we look at Portland, if we look at Montreal, they've gone ahead and replaced the plastic bike barriers with concrete ones for increased safety. And so, you know, that would automatically narrow or squeeze the road. If we just, it's not a long stretch we're talking about on Gateway, but putting concrete barriers there for the bike lane would automatically narrow it, and it wouldn't mean putting bumps or cushions or anything.
Well, it is all about the money, as we always say, but that is a good suggestion. Michael has written that down.
That's part of rehab and reconstruction.
Rehab.
When it comes up every 20 years, you kind of look at that. And typically you don't replace all those curb, you know, you typically would do that in like very old neighborhoods. The
You can't
curb
put in
is-
precast.
It's the precast, it's the outer side.
It's very cost effective, they cost nothing, they're very.
It looks,
What is that?
doesn't look, I'm sorry, I go to downtown Toronto where they put it in and about.
But those are
Well-
interim solutions too, because
Yeah.
they're not gonna rebuild the road for 20 years. So when they rehab the road, they put in permanent
Yeah.
paths in place. for-
Operations has to, because they're also snow clearing issues, okay, and I hate to
We're
say.
past that, you know,
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna give you, sorry,
Okay,
Leila, are you done?
Lily, do you have anything to add? Okay, yeah, it may not look good, but we're talking about safety, so.
I'm
What's our
gonna give you a
solution?
different, I know everybody, I'm a bureaucrat,
Yes,
okay?
okay.
Our role is to provide our professional opinion
Uh-huh.
based on policies that are approved by council. Okay, so I'm not gonna, Michael, you did what needed to be done. If the policy, you know, if you guys wanna see something different, then you need to change that policy, because staff is directed to do that. We give our professional opinion. It's a professional opinion, okay, you have those three criteria, you can overrule it, your council. I've seen it done many times, okay? The issues that you have. You know, we're providing you the information based on it,
Yeah.
you know, so. I'm sharing
Got it.
that with you, this can be, you go to county, just because we make a recommendation. I've seen it many times, council doesn't really need it, you have your, you know, again, you represent the residents, right? But again, does it get back to the policy? Is there something we need to tweak in the policy, right? Is there something missing? He's challenging it, he's got data. So what are we doing wrong here? And again, is it the time period? He said in the summer, but I saw it was in September. I don't know when you did the study, right? And again, I'm just saying it'd be interesting to see, you know, why the difference and what are the really, you have to watch data because you can manipulate data, right? And what are we looking at? Is it the one-offs, the teenagers that are speeding? In any case, the point to be made is that you guys can overrule it, okay? As bureaucrats, there's a policy. You guys create the policy and approve it. If you think the policy is flawed, then you need to change the policy. Leave it at that, because as a bureaucrat, we do our I walk away. This is our recommendation. If you want to abide by it, you do. If you don't, you know, you can overrule.
No,
I share that with you because at the end of the day, it's important. There are solutions. I'm gonna just tell you, the wider the road, you know, yeah, you have to narrow it, because there's no way that you're gonna slow the traffic down any other way. It works. We know, that's why I said, it may look ugly, but again, this is the other issue. You have to also work with operations, because I have the operational side, and a lot of times they're like, okay, then you're getting into snow clearing issues and liability and issues in the winter, and I'm sorry. We pay this, the town pays insurance, and I see the claims, because some of the claims come in when people get hurt, if it's not done properly, safety, right? So I share that with some of you have that operations, you have to look at the balance of what you do. Operations important, you don't want your operators to get injured, you don't want other people users of the road, so.
Yeah,
there's
no, I appreciate your point of view.
Okay, so I give you a different perspective because, you know, I work with traffic too. Okay, I'm dealing now with our projects and the issues that we have on our, you know, one of my major projects. And it's a big deal. It is a big deal. it's a big deal for all of us. So
Thank you.
that's my perspective, really.
I love this committee. John,
Actually, on that point, I was gonna, before I comment on specifically this, just hats off to all of you. You know, the brain power and the subject matter experts in this room, your opinions are extremely valuable. Just on behalf of the town, thank you for the time you're spending on here. In terms of this specifically, you know, my kids went to St. Jerome. I know they're extremely well all the time. And I think one of the criteria that you've already mentioned that I agree with is, you know, there's 2 schools right there and lots and lots, and we encourage time after time for those students to walk to school. And that's a part, but you know, it's not part of the protocol that you're using, but we can't ignore that. And it's a big deal specifically to this area. So I think we have to really look closely on the northern leg of this, that other kind of area that the other residents are looking at, really a bit of a comprehensive review of this. But I share the concerns and I think if the approach is the next meeting in the new year, I think I know everybody wants it done quickly or a decision done quickly, but it merits a little bit of time to review it and do it properly.
yes, and in reality, nothing is going to get physically done between now and, you know.
You have to look at context. Schools are important, and this is what
Well, I
I
think
play
what-
misses. Like if you understand your policy and the criteria, where does it speak to schools and looking at the context of the area? You truly have to. That's why when I say you can't look at things in isolation and push it over, you have to think, well, what do you want to create here? Really, when I hear 2 schools, yeah, absolutely, should narrow it down and make it. They're not curious if you drive by when they have the opportunity, right? This is a unique type of, I've never seen.
Yeah, it's.
That's why I said, where is this?
Yeah.
And I have not, I've driven by, say, but I haven't taken.
That's why this road is so important to the community, actually. Because it's the key conduit.
Feeds it.
Yeah.
It feeds
Poorly
everything.
designed, you know, again, these are concepts that come in and you kind of look at and.
It's a collector road, but it's also the primary road for kids and everyone walking and cycling.
Quite so.
I just wanted to add, you can actually add a 3rd school to that, because we have the high school now in the same,
That's
roughly
true.
in the same general area.
So
And
that
the
to me,
and the
you guys
kids,
gotta-
the kids from that neighborhood are walking or riding possibly to Williams High School on the other side of Bayview.
I mean, ideally, if this was a new subdivision, yeah, you should have put cycling facility, should have been in Boulevard. You know, again, I don't know how old the subdivision is, but that's what we're doing now. As the subdivisions come in, they're no longer, right? But
They're 2001 and it was brand new.
yes, and again, we cycled on the road. Yeah, I'm one of them, but right now the intent is to put them in Boulevard. You feel comfortable, given to everybody's doing this and driving, not paying
Yeah.
attention. I'm sorry, win or lose, you lose if you get hit. Great. So I think
Well,
there's gotta be,
we're all of the same opinion.
Yeah.
I think, just the Councilor Gallo said it well. There's a more to than just this section. Let's look at the overall, come back. And look at it better, because you can't solve one solution, we're creating.
no, you should go from St. John's all the way down.
Yeah.
That's my,
And there are some tools that staff can use at different cost thresholds that would still have a significant impact and address the concerns from this delegate and the residents. And I think it's worthy of staff looking at it.
And we must, these are very important comments, and you took the time to come, but there are many other people who feel this way.
and deliver it under a project, a bigger project, because then you can lower the costs. Like if you go out as a small project, put it into a road reconstruction job as a part 2 to the program. So I'm just letting you guys know how we strategize and deliver on projects.
Thank you,
Sorry.
you know, it's very important point of view. Steve?
Thank you through the chair to Michael Pa. Some of the streets in and around there were just resurfaced and redone. What is the timeline for that refreshing? is there a timeline for that?
This is actually a different department. You may know the answer. This is,
I can.
roads.
Well, I'm just adding what Gino said, you know, that like when is that
Yeah.
coming up
It's
for?
an important question, because if we're gonna, add a second paint line or add some flexible, it should be done around the time the road is resurfaced, right? Like the road's not
Yeah.
resurfaced, and that's still.
It's, yeah,
Engineering staff needs to, those in charge of rehab, basically before they just look into tunnel vision to say, okay, what else do we need to do on this road? And I'm sorry, that's a departmental to kind of put that, guys, okay, it's not just fixing doing this, it's what else? Where are the,
Yeah.
is there traffic calming? Do we gotta fix? And we typically look at undergrounds, or it's the water main.
Exactly.
It's the sanitary, okay, is there any street lighting do we need to upgrade? I'm sorry, traffic calming is one of those elements you need to look at, because they're going after the fact, after you, our rule is. Forgot we're being recorded. Don't go into the residence more than 20, every 20 years, do everything and don't show your face again for another 20 years. Because really nobody wants to be.
That's right.
Where one department goes in and plants the trees, the other one goes in and, does something else. No, you go in, you do everything that's necessary and don't show up.
This is a different situation, though, I think. This is.
Yes, but there's opportunities to find out, so if you should have a 10-year plan of your road rehab, because it
We
can
do.
be all, so if you do, you know what streets are coming up. So if there's issues related to traffic calming, this is the opportunity, you have it. I know I'm gonna say ours is always a work in progress, but there should be, the ultimate where everybody's trying to achieve is to have that plan. It will always be tweaked, every year as you refine it, but there's a plan, what streets are coming up.
This is probably about 5 years after the current rehabilitation that was done just outside. So it's about 5 years later, younger than this.
So.
Okay. So it may not apply in this situation, but it should be the protocol.
Yeah, like this situation, you're gonna have to go in, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying. Put it in with another project so that this way you can lower the cost. So if you identify what needs to be done, okay, put those tender items as a section within another contract.
An example would be, if you're not reconstructing the road, like have to repaint the road. Right?
That's yearly.
And the option is, are you doing it yearly?
Should be
No,
yearly.
but
No, I don't think they're gonna.
no, not.
They're not doing
no.
yearly, it's a requirement. No, pavement marks in yearly,
It's a policy.
unless you're using.
That's the provincial requirement,
It's up to policy, like, what is your policy?
I have no idea. John? Like,
You gotta do.
it wouldn't be every part of
They
it.
haven't repainted the collector of my neighborhood for 2 years. Absolutely. The point being, you know what I mean, Michael, right?
Okay, they're not gonna get into.
Good to know when Gateway has a schedule for repaint, because, a simple solution is that double line and or adding some of those flex bullets. I have a question about that before we finish. So the flex bullet is part of your, safety zone program around schools. Do you implement those at other locations where issues like this have arisen? And there's no school in an effort to sort of calm traffic, or are you only implementing currently at school zones?
We are only implementing them as part of the traffic calming policy, so if traffic calming measures are warranted, we either provide speed cushions or traffic bollards.
Okay, so you can't, they're not just at school zones. So this is an option for this corridor.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And traffic bollards can be in regardless of
Yeah.
your service.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're confident.
And they're very effective, not just cost effective, they're very effective in reducing speed.
Yeah, we recently put some new ones out. Camera trail.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
I have a question for you, Michael. As it relates to this area, I was seeing there, I think what I read is that one of the local roads, they're having issues. Part of it.
Yeah,
On the
we're gonna have
locality.
to have them explain that, because there's.
Yeah,
some
because
real-
I
it's
think
very
that's gonna be
frustrating.
local residents,
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm sorry, typically you don't get it in a
It's not a
residence.
cut-through road.
Everybody, it's not a cut through, it's
Limeridge,
people
yeah.
living there and it's 1 or 2 kids from a certain house.
Gotta be an explanation.
It's
to it.
gotta be.
We're not.
Because it's like, why would you, I looked at it and like,
They did the studies, the applications, so should be coming at some point.
Yes, we need to hear from
Yeah, the one, it's off, it's the first street, yeah, you're going south.
them. The reason why you have
And I just looked at it going,
the reason why you have speed bumps in Peterson is because it's a commercial access that goes all the way to Dayton.
Oh, yeah.
So that I understand.
Uh-huh.
There's no
Yeah.
surprise there.
Yeah.
So his explanation about it's on Peterson, it's on Gateway, that's a whole different reason why it's on Peterson.
Limeridge Street was the other street.
Yeah. Did you see it?
Yeah, I'm still gonna.
I know.
I just said, wow, there's gotta be kids living on that street, there's gotta be one or two.
Anyway, so that'll be an interesting one. I'll wait to hear.
Yeah.
But this is why I sometimes say, I like this, like we were saying, maybe we can produce these speed cameras, and I said, yeah, let's take the license plate, because then we need access from MTO to find out where they live.
All right. Okay, that's not what I had in mind. Very interesting conversation. Anybody else have further comments?
I do as it relates to golf, so,
No, we'll do that in a minute.
oh,
So, all those in favor? Thank you. So now we're going into, thank you, Mike, for your help. We're going in, we have no information items, so we're gonna go into new business. I think you were gonna. I thought,
So we had a comment about this. So
We both did.
continue business.
okay, and
We'll let you know.
if you have any further comments on,
My comment was actually about the flex bullet solution for golf links, to be honest with you.
oh, okay,
So
okay.
that it's the same kind of solution,
Same-
something to think about. Yeah. You know, and because you've collected data in 2022, so you're probably not planning on going out anytime soon to do it again for a couple of years.
Didn't plan on doing so, but the we can, doesn't sound very costly.
Yeah.
This, as you can tell, been going on for a long time, but it's something that adds to the mix. I don't remember the trucks being part of the mix at the beginning of the conversation.
it's construction.
Oh,
The
it's-
thing about flex bullets, by the way, it's the track will go down once or twice, but once they realize they're hitting the flex bullets, they know they're gonna get, and they're not gonna come down that.
The other problem is miles. I
Yeah,
love
miles,
yeah.
Oh, what did you say? What did I miss?
So it's good for a maintenance contract
Yeah.
if they hit the bottom.
But it does happen, they're not that expensive, and trucks.
Oh, maybe we'll do reverse negative, come down our street, damage your truck.
Okay, okay. Midas Muffler is on that corner and they do, and they're a wonderful business. It's not Midas Muffler anymore, just Midas. But I believe they do use that street a lot. Now, could we?
Is that a
do more than
licensing
suggest to them?
requirement?
Yeah.
And you can't funnel the road, but again, putting up flex bollards one, might make it a little bit less appealing. It's hard to tell, you know.
Yeah, okay.
If they're driving other people's cars, last thing they wanna do is scratch the car.
Uh-huh.
So, you know,
Okay.
so it's just a thought, again, flex bollards, simple little solution, cost effective, but it can have a very big impact.
Okay.
They work, is you could get 40 kilometers slowed down, like I said. that's-
Lily's still here, so John, you can weigh in on this as well. I mean, do we agree that that would be a suggestion for Fairway? To have the flex,
Golf lane.
golf links, to have the flex, to look into that, under new business.
Yeah. Recommendation
We can make
Lily, did you wanna
recommendations.
say something?
for them to look into it.
No, I agree. I agree with looking into that.
Okay. Yes, Steve.
How do you use flex bollards if you have parking on one side of the street? You just have them on the other side?
Well,
Well,
the center line is
it's
already
not
offset.
something, I don't think. Is it, will you check and see if the sign?
Yeah,
is
so
parking?
it's just gonna happen at some pinch points along the road. Since the center line is offset,
Okay.
it's not a problem.
So how do you?
You have to watch because when you have many driveways and have to close, what's sometimes hard to pick.
You would have to know.
What doesn't pick impact somebody's
Offsets, you have room for
driveway, that's the issue, right, went from 10.
You have to review the spacing. But if center line's offset,
Yeah,
you have room for parking in your flex bullet.
That's right. It can,
Right, you
Okay.
either, it depends on the design of the road or where you install them, but you should have enough space. Because I know I'm pretty almost positive it's offset as it goes around the bend for sure.
it is offset.
Yeah.
And there are, I see if Google Maps, I mean, it does tell the truth that there's people park on both sides.
Yeah.
So then we would have to be doing more ticketing on that street.
But with the flex ball, it's, you're not gonna see them parking on the side they're not allowed to park on, because it will be difficult for them to do that.
Okay,
So.
so that might solve that
It
problem.
will solve, well, will help to remedy that, yeah.
Okay. John,
So what would be the direction, what would staff do with all of this information in terms of a report to council?
what would you suggest to us, Michael? It's the most sensible.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to take back to the other, Michael?
I mean, what you're hearing from the committee is that we're interested in staff exploring the opportunity to introduce flex bollards along golf links.
Yeah.
Right, as a potential solution to remedy
That
the
could be-
concerns that have been brought to this committee by the delegate.
Is that something council has to bring back and make a recommendation to council?
Staff,
The committee, I mean, he's just listening now, and then he generates his
Yeah,
report.
we're just sharing
Obviously, we don't,
information.
yeah, we don't give direction.
and then we don't have any direction, we're just sharing information.
Yeah, that's our issue, we can't get.
But I just wanna confirm what he's heard and what he's intending on putting into the report. So I would put in the report for the upcoming committee of the whole, that the DTTCC committee has recommended that staff review
And decline it.
feasibility of actually putting in flexible bollards, long golf links.
So that would be for golf, and then John, you can pull
Well,
it,
just
speak to
on
it.
that note, because I mean, we also want to follow policy, and we haven't done a full-blown traffic analysis. Although we probably have enough information to make that decision, but I don't want to do it in haste because, you know, we haven't surveyed the residents, we haven't done a lot of the stuff that we normally would do.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and do this, and we may create other problems.
Yes, you're right.
It'll take you to the next step, that's all.
I don't think for flex bollards, you actually have any requirement to go and petition residents. You haven't done that anywhere in Aurora. You didn't do it in my neighborhood when you installed them. We didn't ask for them.
Yeah, we didn't do it on a clown either.
It did get feed, I mean, most
That's like-
support it, but.
And if that's the policy.
Speed
then
humps,
that's-
speed humps, they absolutely,
Yes, of course.
speed humps, they do, but for flex bollards, no, they just came in and did
I
it.
didn't know that.
So then, just.
Is that
to,
accurate, Michael? We don't have to go to the.
I believe you require,
No,
you're required to follow the policy to flexible bollards, which are like for,
They have to notify residents.
and, so I would have to. And mean, and then, you direction. Oops.
But can you also let us know what the policy is on that? If there is a policy to, I'm sure there's no policy.
Well, it's a policy,
Yeah.
well, it's falls like.
Same one as speed humps, right? Yeah, same policy. Okay.
To consult with the residents or to notify? Well, anyway, you're right.
Well, so if the resident wants to pursue, request a flexible borders or in traffic convention.
But the resident hasn't asked for those. We as a committee are suggesting that that might be an option. So it's not a request. from
It
the
can be
resident.
directed by council.
Okay.
But they were complaining, but again, I don't know, I'm sorry, like I'm gonna put my ear, correct. You still need to go to all the residents and inform them that you're doing it to respect those that live on that street. You can't just go and do anything. They chose that to live there, you need to at least inform. Okay, that this is happening, give them an opportunity to come to council and say yay or nay, or have a public meeting. It doesn't happen in my municipality where you just go in and do whatever you want and not inform residents. That's the big no. I mean, that's why I'm shocked to hear that you did the flex bollards without informing residents.
Well, they have a policy for putting them in at school zone, so they just did them.
Oh, okay, so
And they have a policy when they take them out, but they didn't come into my neighborhood and tell them.
Really?
Yeah.
Did we notify?
Whatever the policy, obviously follow the policy,
Yeah.
that's the recommendation.
Yeah,
of the
they-
council.
the policy is you gotta follow.
Okay.
Yeah, and then council can debate, you know, you have at least two here that heard the whole discussion.
Yeah, but gateway is different, Michael, but gateways, I
Yeah,
think,
so what are,
staff, we would like staff to look at options, it's a different thing, I would argue.
Yeah, it's gonna come back with the larger, the other section of Limeridge. I think you gotta look at the whole stretch. Cause the other
Limeridge really is really independent, and separate from Gateway.
I get it, but that section.
Okay.
But
At the top.
yeah, that might be the
What is it? What is
trying
the,
to get at. It's probably.
we should proceed for
No, I know, but we have to.
But it'd be nice to have data for the whole stretch, we just have data for the bottom stretch.
Sure, they
They have for the whole stretch, from St. John down.
So the same as the top of the bottom, so we can raise it to the light.
I mean, if it's a, if I go to that road, I'll tell you right now, if it's, you're telling me it's wide open, I just take a look, they forget, yeah, they're gonna speed
what
up.
did,
Because when we did Clark, right, and we narrowed the road because we did the bike lanes and put them in Boulevard, it's what we have.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it works,
Yeah, yeah.
it's proven,
But
the
that, I
wider
had
the road.
we had much car lanes side by side.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, the non, we were blessed, we still had all that space to do that, and the road needed to be reconstructed. So this was the opportunity to do it,
instruction?
but it's costly. And the road doesn't have money.
Sorry.
So,
So what are, I'm
I just have one question, okay, wait.
Yeah,
We should
that's
say
what
we're
we're
gonna
talking
have another delegate at a future meeting come, and we're gonna hold off, we'll see how much suggestion as a committee. But it would be helpful if staff came back to that next meeting, because they've heard from us some options, right? A whole bunch of options for Gateway, so we're gonna discuss those options again. So it would be helpful if staff come back and say, adding a double line or adding a precast curve, or, those aren't things that,
you mean for the next time this committee?
Yeah.
But there will be minutes come out of this committee. And I was just trying to clarify what you decided about Gateway.
We're going to.
Table it to January.
We're just
And we
referring,
make sure we introduce that other group,
okay,
and maybe Michael back again.
Yeah, have that done with that. So you can give them more
I just
time.
wanted to know how it's gonna show on the minute.
And you're tabling it till.
And we discussed some potential options, but we
We
wanted,
discussed potential
Yeah,
to
yeah,
retain
yeah.
until January. No, it's not big, and we will continue the discussion in January.
Yeah, sorry, I think that's what I meant, sorry.
We'll revisit it. Well, we're gonna continue the discussion of the area in January.
yeah, explore options.
Explore,
Does that make sense?
continue to explore
Does that approach
options.
make sense?
So, how many has P recommendations?
Not for Gateway yet.
Yeah, we're gonna continue to explore options in January, I think that's
And
right.
have that other group.
Yes.
Okay,
City garage.
It was upset, I could tell.
Just what I would like to
It
come
was
back.
very, I understand, because I've seen it, and
is there any more new business?
No.
Does anybody?
actually, of course, one more. No, I want to speak to Young Street, because Young Street
Ah.
is important, and I think the design that, I didn't have the opportunity to come.
No, that's
I wish I had prior notice, just, I wasn't looking, I don't look all the time, I have enough
yeah,
things that I do. But I'm gonna say that I was very impressed with what I saw with him. Didn't really see a lot of things there. The issue I had with is the guide rail. Putting a guide rail in front of, as opposed to putting a concrete curb. Okay, and see which one is.
What are we talking about here?
This is Young Street, sorry, the sidewalk and multi-use path between Bloomington and.
The rail bridge down.
Thank you.
Different project.
Sorry, I should have been on the red.
So it's.
Checking Young Street, saving everybody, we had talked about it.
There is the downtown coming out, that's why that's why I went there first.
okay, yes.
So you say guide rail.
No, the promenade, yeah, that street.
Okay, well, you could have that.
That was the only thing that I really caught where I said, do we really wanna spend money on a guide rail or just put curb in and, I think I sent you one of the options that, you don't have to put a storm system in, but you can capture the drainage by putting a culvert underneath and then just putting it to the ditch on the other side.
Michael, correct me that section I've done is by regional road.
Yes.
Right, so the responsibility of the decision to put curbs in is a regional decision and a regional cost. In your discussions about this particular project with the region, did the topic come up about timing and putting in curbs as part of this project? Because that would be fundamental to the design of the multi-use trail.
I do call her in the sessions. And reviewed it and they decided that guide rails are.
Yeah, no. I understand the guide rail without a curb, but have we heard from York Region of whether or not they think that the timing is now, since you're gonna put a multi-use trail on the sidewalk on the other side, and maybe they should urbanize the road, because they always have planned to urbanize that road down in Bloomington. I'm just wondering if staff had heard from York Region.
Oh yeah, we've consulted with York Region.
And they're fine with keeping it as a rural section.
Yeah, and they're on board with.
That it's slated, sorry. I tell you why, because it's slated for the transit.
So they're gonna do it at that
In
time.
50 years, whenever it happens, whenever our next bundle of funding.
So
That's-
in that case, since you're not putting a curb in, I didn't have an issue with the guardrail, and I mentioned that at the open house. The only issue I had was that one section where, because of the constraints, because they wanted to maintain a 4-meter width trail, they pushed the trail right to the edge and put the guide rail right at the edge of the shoulder with the trail behind it, and there's no room for snow storage. And I find that I personally think they should have narrowed the trail for that short section down to 3 meters, pushed the guide rail in, and created that space for snow storage. I think it's gonna be a maintenance challenge between York Region maintaining the road and the town of Aurora maintaining the trail, and it's gonna be battle for that section. And I really think, correcting the design would solve that problem and just get it off the table.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
I'm glad he was an author.
And one, sorry, there was one more item. Okay, go.
Just extending on that, and Michael, thank you for you and all the staff, the people that worked on that. I did go, David and I went, we were there at separate times. I came by and dropped, I saw the big rendering. That's wonderful printing. I don't know how to do that. It's pretty impressive. I did put a post up on one of the more popular or Facebook pages, and the feedback, David, you weighed in on that. The feedback was hugely positive.
Unbelievably
Like everyone was positive about it. I'm always a little nervous when we do these kinds of things. David, you have far more experience about this than anyone at the table. When we move forward like this, there's so much negativity about, cycling, bike lanes, all this kind of stuff, but it was tremendous positive feedback. People are really looking forward to having that linkage. So just adding that.
Yeah, I saw that too. It's nice to have a positive project.
Yes, especially
So-
one that's this expensive.
Yes.
So what I didn't see too was there was a traffic signal there. Are we putting in cross rides at the traffic signal? Are there cross rides? Okay,
It was in the design.
I didn't,
Yeah.
I looked for it, maybe I missed
It was there.
Was it there?
I had suggested that, the challenge with I had suggested that they have a couple of zoom ins and a couple of the crossings, like the crossing the OPP driveway, to me, was a little problematic because people on the trail are not gonna understand that, they have to be careful about cars moving through those ramps. And there was nothing, I didn't see a signage plan, so I said at the meeting, it would be nice to have some.
Stop sign.
It should, 100%.
Just so blind people, because it's blended in.
Yeah, but they're using York Region's design guidelines, and according to the consultant at the time, that what they showed on that drawing was consistent with that. And I find it puzzling because, at an intersection, everyone has to control. So if cars are stopped, what are pedestrians and cyclists doing? How are they going to interpret that when they cross through that lane? And it's important that both the motorists and pedestrians and cyclists understand how they're both supposed to, interpret at an intersection, right? Who goes first, that kind of thing. So when you have a free flow entrance like the OPP driveway, cars are not going to think that they have to yield. Pedestrians and cyclists are riding through that intersection,
Right.
even though the law says if you're riding through the corridor, you have a right of way over anyone entering or exiting a driveway or an intersection. It is true, but that's a different issue. The issue is safety.
Thank you, this could be a big problem.
But I just think
And could we-
signage and some select pavement markings. Another thing that was missing was a which is a tactile warning strip indicator at this OPP entrance. They didn't have it there. They only had it at intersections. And I had suggested that should be added. And the reason being is that, there's.
Any
some
commercial
they'll have to-
industrial site should have it.
Agreed.
Residential properties, no, but typically, I could say site plans, you should have it.
Other than
Did
that,
they accept your suggestion or
well,
you?
they took my comments, Michael knows, yeah.
And there, I think the consultant will provide you with the signage.
Okay,
Yeah.
as long as it's
It's a great
seriously.
design. It is a really good design. People are gonna love it when it's built. And it's with, to get 4 meters, it's fantastic.
Both sides.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
There's only one thing that I know you didn't listen to was.
Only one.
Well, no, because I said, why did you go up to Henderson? If you look on Google, there's a pathway. Then sorry, on the west side, you needed to connect, right? There's a way there, guys. So you need to stick that stuff in another project and figure it out, even if there's type whatever, because then
It's in
you.
the bike plan.
No, but if you look at it, people are walking, people are walking. So now we're gonna encourage them more. What I'm worried about from a liability is that, okay, you did it, but you didn't do this section in here. All right, so I think at some point, you need to go back, put it into another scope of work that you have. And just say, okay, connect that small piece from the Metro Plaza to here. Okay, I think on the website.
That's what it says, that's it, well,
Yeah, I know, but you originally, well,
Lily has her hand.
sorry.
That's okay. Lily?
Yeah, I just, you were asking about new business. There were two, well, there's only really one thing. I'm a little concerned because now we have high density or apartment developments being planned, apartment/condo. One on St. John's on the west side, another on Yonge Street, another on Mavrinac. So I am concerned about, the traffic issues that are going to arise because of that. So I know that a lot of that is Ward 1, I believe. So that would be Councillor Ron Weiss. So I don't know if we can maybe talk about that at the next meeting, because part of this is coming out of Newmarket not informing, well, they passed with Shining Hills that they can add 2,000 more residents or 10,000 more, I forget. A large condo development on St. John's, and Aurora was not aware of that. And then there's the Yonge and the Mavrinac. So that's one thing maybe we can talk about, is the condo and apartment building projects that are underway. And I also wanted to thank Councillor Gallo for bringing up at one of the last town hall meetings about the vehicle intrusion prevention sort of policies that had to do with the schools and the daycare. So I just wanted to thank Councillor Gallo about that.
Yes, thank you. Lily, are you talking about on Yonge at St. John's, the condo that we don't know about?
There's one on Yonge. There's
Yeah.
one on St. John's, which is the Shining Hills.
Yes,
And then there's another one on Mavrinac.
okay,
So there's 3 development areas that are already approved or planned, but Aurora wasn't necessarily informed about the one on St. John's.
okay, thank you.
That's new. Yeah, that's brand new.
That's the Shining Hills side.
Shining Hills, yeah. They're gonna add condos now that were not planned before.
Northwest corner.
Newmarket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Newmarket.
Northwest.
That's Newmarket.
It's a good point, actually, she brings up, Michael, because we often site plans or plans before they come to council, go to other committees, and I'm thinking, accessibility. They don't typically when we have traffic studies, although it's late in the planning process, typically, a lot of times, applications come to public planning without full-blown traffic studies, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but it's an interesting concept, whether, those, maybe generally those applications could come to this committee similar to accessibility, where the committee gives input and it's part of the planning report or the committee, the whole report, if it gets to that stage. It's an important part of development, and we have a committee here, experts that weigh in. Sorry, go.
Just extending what Councillor Gallo was saying there, and I think I mentioned this in a previous meeting, is I've been to many of these public planning meetings, just sitting, in the gallery, listening to the presentation from the developer, listening to the presentation from the town. I listened just last week, the recent one where the development on Old Young Street. Yeah, that's right. And Councillor Gallo actually brought up, it was one of the first times I'd ever heard about pedestrian traffic and what pedestrians are gonna do in and around these developments. We're always obsessed about what the cars are gonna do, but it has been very rare in the past that pedestrian flow, where pedestrians gonna go, cyclists as well, what are they gonna do?
We have never discussed it in a public.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. So I'm just, if this committee has a voice, we speak for those people who are not getting around by the car. And we've literally, for the last 40 or 50 years, we've built everything around the car, and now people are surprised that we have gridlock traffic. Well, you've built for the car, and now you've got lots of cars. But we've not built for pedestrians, cyclists, because we're not talking about it in the planning phase, Councillor Gallo. So I appreciate that being brought up.
Yes,
On a site
that was great.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a 18 master plan.
Yes.
Approved by council.
And site plans don't come to council anymore, so if it would come here,
I mean, we'll,
Give you a chance.
it would be, we wouldn't, council wouldn't be involved in any of that, because they don't come to council.
So actually, that's a really important point about traffic impact studies, but I think this committee would be interested in hearing about traffic impact studies that staff think. Because of the level of traffic being generated, it may not have been captured in the transportation master plan in terms of growth. Because the TMP, council approves it, it influences decisions about road improvements. But when new developments come in that weren't anticipated to significantly increase traffic in a specific area, then the assumptions in the TMP go off the table. Yet you're not updating that TMP for 5 years. This committee would be a great committee, to have the opportunity to provide guidance to staff.
I agree. I want to ask John.
Sorry.
Have you ever been to a public planning meeting where the traffic and analysis ever says that it's going to be a problem? The increased amount of traffic is going to be a problem. Because I don't ever know.
I knew them. So,
Well, I don't
They
remember.
can't come with a negative report, I'll never as a consultant, right? And sorry, the developer's gonna read it first and then try to kill it.
So it's either we do numbers.
They're transportation studies, right? And reality is there's only so much capacity to accommodate cars. But the transportation study often says in order for it to work, you need better transit, you need to put in the bike lanes, you need to reduce the amount of parking on the site. And encourage people to, move in who aren't all gonna own a car. Like, those things are in our traffic studies.
Yeah.
And so it does happen. Developers don't think it, but it's.
I don't remember saying.
Michael, is there a protocol, like what triggers the accessibility committee have to review all applications before they come to us? Do we know what that trigger is?
You're talking about in with respect to building.
Yeah, any new developments can always go through accessibility.
Accessibility advice.
Well, we have this committee. Well, I'm not trying to figure out what the trigger is that it happens there. Why can't it happen here?
Accessibility is provincial and federal. I mean, accessibility is.
Whatever it is, whatever that trigger
issue.
is,
It's
it's
been
always.
existing for many years, but interesting point.
I'll look into it, and if it requires a notice of motion that directs council to do that. Okay.
I'm gonna add, I'm gonna look at St. John's, the development, and I've criticized it because I said, guys, you could have built a facility. York Region has St. John's Side Road to be reconstructed in 2050, if memory serves me. I'm like, holy smokes. These poor people are not gonna have a sidewalk or anything because the region is built.
That's crazy.
Council needs to pass a policy saying any new development that comes in needs to connect to existing facilities and or expand them. That should be your policy. That you need to pass and say, you're coming in, you need to connect, because I guarantee you're gonna get complaints with people walking in there, as soon as they're, they have their kids and they need to walk. Where are they gonna walk?
But sometimes it's not possible, you don't.
Yes, it is. If I show you what
So Young Street, St. John, Southeast Corner, you're gonna, go ahead, I'd like you to go against.
Jersey
Lake
barrier, I was in
Conservation.
Jersey barrier,
I'd
on
like you
Rutherford
to go to
Road.
East Lake Cinco
And make
Conservation
it
Authority
temporary
on the
side.
east side of Young Street, south of St. John. Yeah, you get 4 meters there, see what they tell you. That's impossible. You don't say no to development because sometimes it's not possible. You figure out other routes. You go down Old Young Street, you go across St. John's, and then you come down Young Street. That's the path that you have to take. Sometimes it just can't happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can adjourn the meeting. This is interesting, we could go on for a long time, but we do have staff. who probably want- So, I need a motion, but I still need a motion to adjourn. Do you know what?
I know.
Yeah, all of in favor? Help yourself to a sandwich.
Thanks, guys. Have a good dinner. That was good. Yeah.